piracy online. Former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe said it's no different than people who traveled overseas to train under Osama bin Laden or ISIS fighters who went to Syria to follow Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. McCabe, though, took it a step further, saying President Trump is at the center of an extremist movement in the United States.
President-elect Joe Biden laying out his $1.9 trillion plan last night to tackle the coronavirus pandemic and boost the economy. Some Republicans raising concerns. ABC's Deirdre Bolton says other policymakers want to avoid halting aid too soon.
One analogy I have heard used often, which I think makes all the sense in the world, the debt is not great, but it's as if you're outside of your home, you're seeing your home burn down. You're not going to complain to the firefighters about potential water damage to your house while your home is burning down. So we are spending more than we're taking in, no way around that statement, but we need to spend now.
ABC's Deirdre Bolton. You're listening to ABC News.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-401-6681. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-401-6681. That's 800-401-6681. 800-401-6681. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
Britain bans incoming flights from over a dozen countries over concerns of the new Brazilian COVID variant.
Flights coming into Britain from over a dozen countries have now been banned. UK Transportation Secretary Grant Shapps on the newly discovered variant.
This one shows it's significantly enough of interest to us just to take this precautionary approach of stopping all those flights from Brazil and South America.
Shapps says, based on initial examination, scientists here think the current vaccines will work on the new variant. Tom Rivers, ABC News, London.
More companies offering their employees financial perks to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan.
Instacart and Trader Joe's are the two latest companies to offer their employees financial incentives to get the COVID vaccine. Instacart's in-store shoppers will get $25 for receiving the shot. Earlier this week, Dollar General offered its workers a similar deal.
A racing pigeon that Australian authorities put on death row may get a reprieve. They thought the bird had flown 8,000 miles from Oregon to Melbourne because of a blue band that was around the pigeon's leg. Authorities were going to euthanize the bird because they were worried it could be diseased after a long trip. It turns out that band is counterfeit. The bird may not be from the U.S. at all and may now be saved. This is ABC News.
I absolutely love my dog, but the constant shedding, not so much. But then I got a Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, and it is amazing. These super thick cloths pick up a crazy amount of hair. Just look at all that. And that was from just one swipe. And the best part? Sweeper's so much easier to maneuver than a broom or a vacuum, easily getting around chairs and under the couch. You're right. Now I can focus on you, not your shedding. Swiffer Sweeper Pet Kit, because shed happens.
I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
This Snow Country Ski Report is brought to you by Indeed. Are you hiring? You need Indeed. Indeed immediately delivers quality candidates from our resume database when you upgrade your job post. It's that simple. Receive a $75 sponsored job credit on your first post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and restrictions apply.
Soft snow and golden sunshine rules the 3-day Martin Luther King weekend. Make sure you get online and make those reservations in advance, whether it's for skiing, riding, and snow tubing. Bear Mountain and Snow Summit are sold out for Saturday and Sunday for skiing and riding. The nighttime sessions are still available, so you can have action under the lights this weekend. Mountain High, about 24 trails. Snow is going to soften quite a bit as temperatures rise during the day, making for easy turns, maybe some heavier snow in spots, though. Snow Valley, skiing and riding on 10 slopes. And Mammoth Mountain, 103 trails. That includes 60 groom slopes and a dozen groom black diamonds at Mammoth. I'm Chuck Devine on KMET 1490 AM.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Julie Talks Money. This is Julie Phelan. I'm your host, and every week I bring you thoughts, tidbits, information, and hopefully tools and actionable items that you can use each week to increase your financial life. I'm a financial life coach, which is a little different than a life coach, and it's different from a financial advisor. I kind of combine the two things in a marriage of helping you to figure out where it is that you want your financial place to be in your financial life, and also where it is you are right now, and how you can get from where you are now to where it is that you want to go, no matter what financial goal it is. It could be for buying a house. It could be for buying investment property, rental real estate, because I definitely am a little heavier into real estate myself and believe very strongly in the power of real estate, but also having to do with 401ks, self-employment, what you can do for taking advantage of government programs and government money, which a lot of times is free money. We love free money. And what it is that you can do to help yourself become a millionaire or even a billionaire, because it is still indeed possible in this world. Now, I'm coming to you from Shelter Studios in Los Angeles. They are a partner of ours, and they actually have hosted some TED Talks recently for Mount Jacinto College, and also they have a lot of studio space that is for rent. So if you'd like to get in touch with them so that you can have a wonderful background in studio like mine, then let me know. And also, if you might be interested in talking more about life coaching, then give me a call. My number is 626-460-1188. That's 626-460-1188. And Julie Talks Money, of course, is my website, because that is the name. Now, I'm going to be talking to you today a lot about different things having to do with a couple of different kinds of data. Now, data, as we know, is something that drives the world these days. It has become increasingly important and increasingly a valuable commodity as we have gotten further into this century. And the ways that you can use data are key to actually how you're going to be able to increase your net worth. But one thing that I'm going to be talking about first, you don't even think of it necessarily as data, but it is essentially something very much like data, and that is the value of your network. So we're going to get into that a little bit more. It's actually one of the things that I do in a 17-week coaching program that I offer to people. And I'd like to have it as an analogy to a football team in many ways, because I'm a big football fan, especially the Chiefs fan, so I'm definitely rooting them on this year. At any rate, there's a whole lot of different things that you have to do from having different kinds of coaches in the football team, just like you would have different coaches in your life. You might have a business coach. You might have a financial advisor. You have an accountant or a CPA. That's another coach. You might have a tax person who could be the CPA, or it could be a tax attorney, which would be another coach. And each one kind of works to put you into top condition for your financial life, right? So it's kind of like you are somebody that is on the team. You're not necessarily being molded, but you are working with these different coaches to make you better, to make your life better. And that's just not only for yourself, but it's also for your family. A lot of the things that you have to do include conditioning. You know, before the players ever take the field in any kind of game, they spend lots of weeks in an off season or in training camp. Now, this is true whether it's basketball, football, baseball, or any sport. They basically have all the players take part in a training camp so they can get themselves into condition to meet the challenges that are ahead of them. And that is one of the things that I help you do, and find different ways that work within your life and work within your parameters and what it is that you want to do. Now, I can meet you if you're a teenager or a 20-something, if you're a millennial, if you are in your 30s and 40s and facing family choices for the first time, if you're in your 40s, 50s and looking towards retirement, and looking maybe also towards grandchildren, or saving up or having money for a child's wedding, a daughter's wedding. or for vacation travel, the things that you want them to do. It's a little bit different than the people that have you save for goals by putting money into a piggy bank, although I do recommend that as well and help teach you how to do that. But it's basically saying you have to have a plan. What is your game plan and how are we going to get you there? And first of it is going to be getting you into shape by first looking at the shape that you're in currently, because you don't know where you can get to unless you know where you're starting from. Does that make sense? You know, if you want to walk the Appalachian Trail, then definitely you're going to have to start at some point, and you're going to have to get yourself a little bit of shape for it and know where it is that you want to start and know where it is that you want to finish up. Now, that could be a long journey. That's a couple thousand miles or 1,000 miles. There's a wonderful trek that you can do in the north of Spain also, similar things, which could be kind of an interesting bucket list item. We talk about that too, but essentially you have to know where you're going to and how you're going to get there, and you're going to have to be in some shape to get there. Now, everybody's heard of Warren Buffett, right? Warren Buffett is the founder of Berkshire Hathaway, and he is one of the wealthiest men in the world, one of the wealthiest men on the planet. His philosophy is a little bit different from a lot of people's philosophy because he holds stocks for the long term. He's not into day trading, never has been into day trading. He looks at companies, he looks at their fundamentals, he looks at what it is that makes them strong, and then he decides if he's going to buy them or not. He had his very first job as a paper boy. There was a paper boy, he was 6 years old, 7, and then he made some money, and somebody, I think it was his father, taught him about the stock market. So he bought, when he was 10 or 11, he bought a few shares, and then he watched as it grew, and he thought, hey, this is really great. I like this kind of thing. And he fell in love with the stock market. And that has been his main focus ever since. Throughout the years, he has learned how to do all kinds of techniques in evaluating property. He has a partner, Charlie Munger, who has helped him along the way. They basically have complemented each other in a very, very strong way in assessing and evaluating companies and then buying them. Now, there's two brothers, Tom and Frank Gardner, not Frank, but Tom Gardner and his brother, and they founded the Motley Fool. The Motley Fool is a company I like a lot. They have the same philosophy sort of as Warren Buffett in buying and holding stocks for the long term, because that is essentially how you're going to grow wealth. Yes, you can make money quickly in the stock market if you are day trading, and you can make money if you're even buying and holding something for a month or for less than a year, which is considered short term by the government. But it is by being in the market for a long time and buying a company and looking at it for the long haul and what kind of position it's going to be in many years down the road that actual greater wealth is built. You could even say created, and is created by the market forces. If you actually have a stock that you're comfortable with and you believe in passionately, like people bought Apple stock when it first came out because they loved their Macintosh computers. They loved their Apple computers, and they really could see the vision that Steve Jobs had, and the quality and the design was unlike anything they'd ever seen before, and they fell in love with it. Well, originally Apple traded for $11 per share. Don't you wish that you had been in on that purchase at the very beginning? Because now it has increased over 7,000%. Yes, it's trading at $123 a share this week, but that is only after splitting and splitting and splitting and splitting so many times that one share that you bought, simply because of what the market has done and what the company has done, that one share split so many times that you ended up with the equivalent of approximately 70 shares. And that has increased your net worth as the value of the stock has increased as well, which has gone along with the value of the company, right? It is a ladder. It's a stair step. Now, you know, it's kind of interesting. Bill Gates, who everybody knows, I think, as the founder of Microsoft Computers, Bill Gates dropped out of Harvard in 1975 to form Microsoft. And he was obviously a genius, and he had a great idea, but it wasn't doing much of anything. It was kind of a local company. And he was building different products, different software. But according to Bill Gates, part of his success is due to his parents, especially his mother. And she was said to be instrumental in the deal that brought Microsoft into the big leagues through IBM. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the power of your networking, but this is a fantastic example of what networking and the people in your network can do for you. So Mary Gates, Bill Gates' mother, was a respected businesswoman with lots of responsibilities and was involved in many nonprofit organizations. She was on the board of the United Way of King County, Washington. While she was there, she met the late John Opel, who was the then chairman of IBM. He also was a member of the board. In 1980, Microsoft was just a small firm, but Mary saw an opportunity to help her son's company by speaking with Opel. Because for the first time in IBM's 70-year history, the company was looking to hire an outside software maker to help them develop an operating system for its personal computer. Now, you may not know this because if you weren't alive or if you weren't working with computers back in the 70s or the 80s, they were very primitive compared to what we've got today. And the computer, IBM was the first company to try and develop a personal computer. They weren't even there for business. They were giant, huge machines at the University of Illinois and other places. You had ENIAC and, we nicknamed Brainiac and stuff, but there were computers that took up 2 or 3 different rooms just for the space for their servers. So IBM was really very far ahead of its time in trying to develop even a personal computer. Well, Microsoft was in the running for the project, but IBM was considering a lot of different software projects. But Mary Gates, Bill's mother, used her connection and spoke with Opel about Microsoft. And afterward, Opel, remember he was the chairman, he spoke with the other IBM executives. Well, the talks that IBM was having with another company began to flounder. And then when assessing the options, Opel remembered Microsoft as, oh yeah, that company that's run by Mary Gates' son, Bill Gates. That's according to the Seattle Times. So IBM took a chance. And this is based on the referral network, essentially. I want to call it that because of a mother to the chairman of a company to her son. So as we know, and history has proven, Microsoft won the job. But at the time, it didn't actually even have an operating system of its own. So in 1981, Gates bought an operating system from a local hardware manufacturer in Seattle, and then it developed MS-DOS, which stands for Microsoft Disk Operating System. Now, we knew MS-DOS as the premier operating system for computers, and it's still being used today. It just has gone through many iterations and many different evolutions to now we have Microsoft 10, but essentially still the Microsoft Disk Operating System. The interesting thing here, and that was one of the smartest things that Gates had done, IBM asked if Gates would sell the source code to them, but instead, Bill Gates had IBM pay a licensing fee for their copies of the software, and then that way it was a non-exclusive license to IBM, and Microsoft could license this Microsoft disk operating system to several other companies, whether it was Dell or Toshiba, and all these different companies that eventually became large in themselves and made Gates a multi-millionaire and then a billionaire by 81 when the stock went public. And the reason I bring that up is because you can go the Bill Gates route, which is entirely possible if you make $15 an hour, which is minimum wage in California, or you make $10 an hour, wherever it is that you are, you can actually become a millionaire. All you have to do is work 80 hours a week in your job with a lot of overtime, or 40 hours a week with a side job in addition to that, save every penny that you have, maybe stay living with your parents, live in the basement somewhere, and actually put all your money into some kind of a saving vehicle, even if it's the stock market and an exchange-traded fund like Spiders, even in the bank, although the bank won't get you compound interest very much these days. But you can do that, cut your expenses to the bone, basically live as cheaply as you possibly can, and then put all that extra money into both either a market fund, an exchange-traded fund, or the stock market. Work yourself to the bone, to death. Don't have any life. Don't have any social life. Don't spend any money on anything for fun. Don't have a car because you're just going to be going to work and going home to sleep. But is that really a life? No, it's not really a life. It's just one way of doing it. You can become a millionaire in 20 years or in 30 years if you continue to invest regularly into whatever vehicle it is that you're using. Usually it's going to be the stock market because it's not going to be bonds, not going to be CDs. You have to allow the market to help you create your wealth. But it's not really the fun way to go. So what I suggest to you is, because emotionally and psychologically, we have different needs, don't we? We have different needs in our lives other than just work and sleep and eating. That's what everybody calls survival. If you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it says what it is that we have, and there's 7 different levels. When our needs are met, then we can go on to the next level. Now, the very first level is survival. It's the bottom level. And then after that, you can go through the different levels with education and things until you get to self-actualization as the top goal. Or if you're doing this hierarchy for yourself for financial issues, then you would go to a position of financial comfort or strength. But essentially, money is such an emotional issue and psychological. We need people around, and we've been seeing that more than anything in this time of COVID, where we are separated and away from other people. I don't know about you, but I am really longing for the time when I can hug somebody again, or I can shake somebody's hand in business without any kind of fear, and then I can actually go out and meet people. But one of the things that you have to look at right now is what your assets are. And I'm here to tell you right now that today, right now, your most valuable asset is you. Yeah, it's you. It is you and the network that you have built, because truly, it's an aphorism, but it's true, your net worth is equal to your network. And one of the other things that is a phrase that goes along with that is proximity equals power. What do I mean by that? Well, proximity to other people who have power or who have knowledge or who have a position that can help you is power. Well, how do you get that power? Well, that's part of the conditioning that you go through in my course, and also what I suggest you do in your life, especially right now. If you don't have a way, if you're not going to work and you're working from home, you're not having the same way to encounter people and work with people that you did before. So I don't know about you, but Zoom meetings have become kind of a way of life. And one of the things that you really need to do is to keep in touch with people or join in other groups that are holding these Zoom meetings so that you can continue to expand your network. Because this is making use of the time that you've got. And, honestly, it's true that the busier the person is, the more we get done, because we have to squeeze it in, then we make sure we do it. Right now, it's kind of a challenge to get all the networking done or all the tasks done that you need to, because we feel like we have a lot more time just stretching out in front of us with quarantine, but really that's not the case. And if you want to talk about your particular situation, then call me at 626-460-1188. That's 626-460-1188. Again, 626-460-1188. And we can go and talk about your situation. And as a matter of fact, I have a special deal for you in a special program. For just $95, I will do a financial analysis. I'll do an analysis on your situation, and I guarantee you that I will find $950 that would be in your pocket that you didn't know you have, or a way for you to get it. Guaranteed. And if I can't do that, no harm, no foul. You get that $95 back, no questions. The refund is there. It's yours. But I'm pretty darn sure that I can find that money for you. It's almost like we used to call couch money when you have your loose change in the couch. But this is a lot more. That's 10 times that $95 investment, and you can get that $950 back. Now, that makes me a little bit different also from other coaches in that, or other people. I'm not selling you a program. I'm offering you something, money back guaranteed. You find that $950 for the $95 fee. If I can't find it, then, like I said, I'll refund your money. However, if you like what it is that you see and you want to continue on with the coaching program, then I offer a 17-week coaching program that is paid week by week. We can talk more about that if we talk together. If you call 626-460-1188. That's 626-460-1188. Matter of fact, I've been working with a lot of realtors and real estate agents and keeping them in my network because right now, obviously, things are really different and difficult, especially in California, for showing houses or selling houses. Now, there's a lot of people who are moving or wanting to move out of state. They're wanting to move out of California. You can see it on YouTube. You can hear newscasters. There's all kinds of different mediums where you'll hear people going, oh, there's the great California exodus. California is having so many people leaving, 400,000, 500,000 each year leaving California. I hear talk about it now as well. But where is it that they're going to go and how are they going to sell their house? And who's going to come look at their house, especially now when COVID is so prevalent? Well, I developed a COVID Protection Essentials kit that every realtor and every person who wants one, if they're my coaching student, would get. And basically, it's a portable kit so that you can make sure that you're keeping your clients safe, proving to the clients that you are safe. Disinfectant booties, gloves, masks, all kinds of different things. If you are showing a house as a realtor, then all your people, the clients who want to see the house are going to be safe and they're going to be all gowned up, if you want to call it that, to make sure that your client, the sellers, is going to be safe and their house is going to not be infected. Unfortunately, it was so popular I ran out, but we're putting together some more and come soon. And you can also order those from me by calling 626-460-1188. 626-460-1188. Now, one of the things that I really want you to focus on too, going back to your network being your net worth, equal to your net worth, this is the perfect time when you can't go out and see people personally to actually start utilizing the tools that are available to you to increase your network. You remember the telephone? Yeah, we have the telephone, right? Some of us, like me, even have an old-fashioned desktop telephone with a hard line because I like putting my ear to a regular phone. It just feels right somehow for doing business. Call the people that you haven't been in touch with. Don't just email them. A lot of people want a human touch, especially right now. Might be lonely, might be sitting in their home and their apartment or afraid to go out. But it's the perfect time to utilize the telephone and to start getting back in touch with people. Then go to your LinkedIn account. Oh, you don't have a LinkedIn account? Well, you need to go into LinkedIn, linkedin.com, and build yourself a profile on your account because there are people and there are companies that are still doing some headhunting right now. They're looking for people who can work from home or who are looking for new jobs. Or, in fact, people who might be wanting to move out of state and live in a different location, whether they're working from home or they're working for a new company. You know, get in touch with your business associates, the ones who had been people you'd done business with. They haven't gone anywhere, and you haven't gone anywhere either, except that you've gone radio silent. When you can't see people and you can't talk to them regularly, you know, a phone call is so much more effective than an email. If you can't do a phone call, go ahead and send a text. Just let people know that you're thinking of them because you need to keep that network solid. You need to keep that network of people in your sphere and in your network. Don't let yourself be forgotten and don't forget them. Make sure that you connect with them on LinkedIn if you have the time. And most of us do have the time these days. Go ahead and add 10 connections per day. Make sure that you respond to the connections that respond to you. If they are saying something that is more than, okay, I'm connecting, I agree. And remember, this is a business page. This is a business profile. So don't ever, 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 ever post anything personal on that because this is part of your data, the people that you are adding and that are going to, and you're going to put stuff on LinkedIn to have people know about you. You're going to have different things maybe about your hobbies and, you know, other people who are your associates, what school you went to. You know, on LinkedIn, they actually even have as a selection that you might have gone to the University of Life. I really like that because it is so true for so many people. And as a matter of fact, that would be true for Bill Gates, right? He dropped out of Harvard. He doesn't have a degree. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple Computers, he dropped out too. He'd never had a degree. He never finished school. There are thousands of people like that and thousands of stories. So it's not necessary to have the education on there, but you can put the education in life. But if you do put down your school, which is a good thing, that is a connection in the whole spider web of connections that will lead some people to you to contact you or to talk to you about work. put in your skills, put in your skill set, what it is that you have. So let people know data about you. I'm going to call it that because really, in a sense, that is what it is. And here's one of the biggest tips I can give you. Get your own bat phone. For anybody who remembers Batman, Commissioner Gordon was always able to pick up the bat phone and get a hold of the Batman right away. You know, we are all getting and being swamped with all kinds of calls from people we don't know, robocallers, and it could be political fundraisers, donors, nonprofits, whatever it might be, insurance, robocalls. So if you're like me, you know, a lot of the calls you don't answer, you let go to voicemail to see if they're real. But I do have a business line, and you guessed it, it's the 626-460-1188 that I will always answer. And make sure you have a phone like that or a phone number like that, whether it's from Google Voice or getting it from your website or something. Make sure you have that so that you can answer the phone when somebody important calls. I'm going to take a little break now, and then we come back. We're going to be talking to a data king and an expert in data and how to utilize it for growing your business, because that is his business. I'll be talking to Aaron Norris real soon. So stay tuned. Stay with me. I'll be right back, and you're going to be really interested in hear what Aaron has to say.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
For all you truck and RV enthusiasts, TruckWorks right here in Banning is your one-stop shop for the best diesel performance and overall truck and RV needs. Whether you're towing, racing, off-road, or just cruising around town, TruckWorks specializes in truck and RV service, maintenance, repair, and performance upgrades for every light and medium-duty truck manufacturer. Bring it down to Terry and the guys at TruckWorks. Call 951-922-4776 or visit their website at mydieseldown.com today.
We're suddenly in the midst of some very tough times. People hurting for cash don't have many options. My man Saul, the great American, may have a very tangible answer for you if you need cash now. If you are a parent or 70 or older, Saul can get you cash for that too expensive, unwanted life insurance policy, and he can do it fast. Not only will he be able to cash out now, but you or your parent won't have to fork over those crippling high premium payments anymore. You've heard the television spots about knowing you could sell your life insurance policy. Well, why just sell it to one source when you could have multiple chances to cash out and get the most money? Saul will do the whole process remotely, so you don't have to leave the safety of your home or meet with the great American. Contact Saul at Appel Life Settlements, 617-610-1898, or visit his website, appellifesettlements.com. The great American has over 45 years' experience. The consultation is free, no obligations. Call 617-610-1898 now.
And welcome back to Julie Talks Money. I'm your host, Julie Phelan. I'm a financial life coach, and I bring you information and help you to learn some things you didn't know, and ways that you can increase your bottom line and increase your financial life. I frequently have different guests on who are experts in their field, and I'm super glad to welcome back somebody who's been on the show before, who is Aaron Norris. Now, Aaron is I don't necessarily say a data geek, but kind of is, because he has always been obsessed somewhat with data, with nuance and robotics and ADUs and the convergence of technology trends and their potential impacts on housing especially. Aaron's the vice president of market insights at Property Radar and leads their commitment to helping real estate and other business professionals and home service businesses gain insights about their markets and marketing. And he has been in the real estate flipping business and is a mortgage officer and a researcher. He produces lots of different things and reports on market timing, everything. And I'm so glad to welcome you back. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. How about you?
I am good. Sorry, I was on mute there for a second. I am great. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, and thank you so much for joining me again. I always love talking to you. So let's kind of dig right into it. What has been happening with Property Radar and the market? What are you seeing is changing, if anything, during all the quarantines and everything with COVID-19?
Probably the biggest news article or the news that everybody wants to talk about is the foreclosures. The problem is there's not much news to talk about. So for the notice of default stage to early phases of foreclosure, I look at all the time, and they're just not, at this moment in time, there's really nothing to talk about. With all the moratoriums on evictions and foreclosures, none of those have really been able to make their way through the system. And professionals are probably going to be a little bit disappointed if they're really just trying to set up these, systems focusing on foreclosure. Off-market is probably going to be a little bit of a better strategy for you in 2021.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit Property Radar, because it started as Foreclosure Radar, right? About 10, 13 years ago?
Yeah, Sean O'Toole had finished about 150 flips in the Northern California market, and he saw the writing on the wall as one of the few who sort of stopped doing the flipping business and created Foreclosure Radar, seeing what was coming. So he was on 60 Minutes, and he really changed the data game in the foreclosure space. So once upon a time, you would have to pay thousands of dollars for updated information for you to effectively be able to bid at the courthouse steps. And he made an app that completely changed the industry. So as foreclosures sort of wound down, Property Radar sort of morphed into a tool where it brought together property and people data. So a lot of people don't understand that we've got emails and phone numbers already sort of pre-matched based on property ownership. It's a really powerful tool for professionals that are in constant need of ongoing leads to fill their pipeline of opportunity.
That is terrific. The way it's expanded, I know I've watched it over the years, but the platform now seems to serve a lot more than real estate investors. And you said you on the website also, business-centric, or how do you guys call it? Business. It is, but business-centric business, property-centric businesses.
Yeah,
that's what I was trying to say. Hello.
Property-centric businesses, and that could mean solar, roofing. It could be mortgage, commercial real estate investors, property managers. Yeah, it's really looking through at the property and the people information, and I think some of the most interesting things that the tool has is that demographic data, being able to do things like market to people based on their birthday month or their age, how long they've owned the property, getting to see inside all the transactions of the property that are on the property. Just a lot of really interesting information. So I get to work with all kinds of different professionals in media every day, and it's always a pleasure to see what gets thrown my way.
Now, I understand that if you do something with Property Radar, you can create quick lists, like if you offer home services. So I mentioned in the email that I was using to market this and a couple flyers that, you need to market to the people who actually have what it is that you're looking for, what you can market to. Like if you're a gardener, you're not necessarily going to be marketing or sending mail to an apartment, somebody who lives in an apartment building. But if you're a personal trainer, you can market to just about everybody. How do you utilize the data that Property Data offers for your own personal business if you have something that is not real estate related?
You know what? I'll give you a real-life example. During the last rainstorm in California over Christmas, we had a roof leak, and this was it was built in 2005, and half of the neighborhood happened during the downturn, and let's say the quality may have suffered a little bit. We'll put it that way. I won't mention the builder. If I were the roofer who was hired to do my business, chances are that other people in the neighborhood are going to be experiencing the very same thing. So let's take my property example. So the roofer comes to my house, sees the issue, and say, hey, you know what? I should probably blanket this neighborhood of homes. How about I just target the homeowners that live here and have 30% equity in their home, like an estimated 30% equity that have some money. And let's just say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood fixing a roof. I'll give you this % discount. If I'm in the neighborhood, you need me to look at your roof. Great. What if I was providing a drone footage of your roof? A lot of the houses in my neighborhood are 2-story. What if I offered, while I was already in the neighborhood, hey, on this date, I'm offering free drone mappage of your roof to see if you have any similar leaks. Be glad to help. Book an appointment. Here's my Calendly link. So it's just taking that hyper-localized opportunity and how do I get more of something that I just did? I'm already there. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. It's just being able to pull that information. Now, can I market differently to non-owner occupants? Of course, but I could separate them. I won't be mailing. I won't want to hang a door hanger to a tenant. There's really not going to be much actionable data there. But I could definitely separate home ownership versus the absentee owners and send the absentee owners a mailer saying, hey, I'm going to be in the neighborhood fixing a roof. If you have any issues, let me know. This is something that's happening in the neighborhood. So as that hyperlocal expert, I can promise you very few companies take that approach.
No, I know. Usually in the past, people would be driving them around the neighborhood and they would just take an eyeball look at a roof and say, yeah, maybe they might need something, like you said, leave a door hanger, which isn't always the most efficient way of marketing, but it was the way we had. I'm fascinated by the drone. I hadn't even thought about that as a possibility for, a tool for somebody to do an estimate or to look and see if you even have a need. That's amazing.
I produced the Data Driven Real Estate podcast, and we did an interview with a garage door specialist that it was funny. He had some really creative ways to get in the door and to build that relationship and trust. Why he's in the neighborhood offering a free, greasing of the wheels, and he puts a sticker on the door. So the homeowner is looking at your sticker every time they're in the garage. It's a really smart way to introduce branding. So how is professionals can we constantly be creating those positive impressions and experiences to build relationships? I'm just such a big advocate of small businesses, and I think data can no longer be a hurdle. The data is there. We just have to get more savvy as small business owners to compete more actively with the Wall Street companies that are sometimes after our niche.
Yeah, and I noticed, you did the Data Driven Real Estate podcast. You just did an episode yesterday. Is that a weekly podcast?
Yeah, it's a weekly podcast. We interview government officials, economists, local experts. We sort of bounce around all over the place. We did an interview with data scientists at the St. Louis Federal Reserve, the Fred team, and learned that they have 800. Yeah, so I am constantly researching, finding new locations of data, and seeing how I can sort of spread the wealth of information to the people that we serve.
Now, how does Property Radar aggregate the data? How do you put it all together into these different databases that you have?
Well, it's not easy, and I guess that's we probably make it look too easy, right? So we get data from a lot of different sources with a little bit of machine learning and some know-how. We aggregate it all, bake it off to make sure we've selected the sources that we think are going to take the lead and be the most beneficial. So by the time you're doing things like driving for dollars and you're in front of a house that you think could use your services, you open up the app and make a direct call from the owner right there from the street. Take notes within the app. Like, we want the data piece and the quality to be there for you so you can focus on what you do best. So a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, buying data from different locations and combining them in ways that are powerful, making for a very quality data experience.
Now, years ago, probably about the same time you were doing mortgages, I was doing mortgages. I was in the mortgage loan business. And the records were a lot more open, and you could order some information from a title company, and you could ask for the people who had, 70% equity in their houses and what the value of the house was, and get their name and address, and you could market to them, to see about doing a refinance or if they were wanting to move. But you can't get that data these days now from a title company. Do you offer that kind of information?
We do. In Property Radar, we have a free 3-day trial, and you just definitely have to check it out. And when you log in the Discover area, there's these things called quick lists that make it really easy. And we are nationwide, so if you're working several markets, including out of state, my MLO is in California and Florida, so I use it all the time. But there are these great little quick lists, and I'm trying to get over there right now so I can share with you some of the quick lists specifically for mortgage. So PMI elimination, HELOC and cash out prospects, mortgage consolidation prospects, reverse mortgage holders, reverse mortgage prospects. So by being able to combine property and people data, there's some really unique ways to do that to very easily combine them to find some opportunity depending on your niche in the space.
That's neat. I actually had pulled up your quick list too, and you had different things for family specials, beauty and fashion enthusiasts, fitness enthusiasts, golfers, definitely properties with a pool, because you won't be able to see if they have a pool just from the street. So, why would you leave a door hanger on every single door if, 80% of them don't have pools? Health professionals, seniors. I love that new wealthy locals.
Yeah.
Seniors.
How about renovation loan prospects or cash out for college prospects when kids are on site and we have an idea of the age of the kids on site. Rate and term refi, that's a real easy one.
Yeah,
what if you specialize in hard money? We can identify the flippers for you in your active market so you can start following their work. So lots of different opportunities specific to the mortgage space. And what's really special is that if you were to go to your title company, you may get, the location and a mailing address, but, we have a lot of emails and phone numbers, which give you a few more options when it comes to getting that marketing mix just right.
Mm-hmm. So what is it? What kind of tools does Property Radar offer to somebody who's using the list? Do you offer phone numbers or a way for somebody to do direct mail, or do you just have the list and the addresses and somebody has to do all their mailers themselves?
Great question. There's a few different things that you can do. Yes, you can download lists. You can we pre-append the emails and the phone numbers, so you can download those. The phone numbers and emails, if you download them like as part of a list, that's an extra charge. But if you're just calling from an individual property, like if you were in front of somebody's house and you wanted to call them and we had the number, you could just call and there's no charge there. Some of the most powerful things are integration and automation features. So let's say we created a dynamic list to where we wanted to go after that cash out for college prospects. What would happen is when the data told us that was likely to happen and somebody new opts in, you may decide to work with some of our partners like Print Genie to where a one-off mailer could get sent automatically. And with Zapier, you could push some of these contacts into your CRM system and create a workflow that says, hey, the mailer went out right away. In a week's time, follow up by phone and then by email. And you do you. Whatever your favorite way is to communicate, great. You could create lookalike audiences for digital marketing ads in, Facebook and Google. There's a lot of different ways because of having access to the phone numbers and emails that you can combine and create your own different marketing mix that works for you.
It's just amazing what technology can do these days, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, for the price point, for under $100 a month, having access to that kind of intel and dynamic lists that constantly stay updated. I mean, I've been in the marketing scene for over 15 years, and I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on lists. So for those of you in the marketing business, who knows what that looks like? If you've gone to your title company and you've got that list, it's aged, within a week.
Stale.
Yeah,
it's very stale most of the time. Yep.
Yeah, and to be able to track that and be able to keep it updated, there's just a lot more efficient ways to do it at a very reasonable cost. So it's great.
And like you said, to be able to just take that data and put it into your CRM, your customer relationship management system, or some say customer retention management, but basically client management, to be able to have that automatically in there as opposed to just getting something from a title company or a list builder and you have to enter that data yourself, or maybe you'll put that in. It depends on the format that it comes in. I think that's really strong. And as I was saying before, and I know you saw the email, and I don't know if you heard the first half of the show, everybody knows everything about us now. Every company, we just have the assumption pretty much that people, they're not always correct because I get lots of calls for solar panels or for, something for a roof when I live in a condo. I don't have a house. I don't have that. So it's not always perfect data. And those are robot calls. But still, from whatever it is that I post on Facebook, or on something else, or even make comments about it, somebody might know that I have a cat. Others will know, others have a dog. Others have, the favorite color. It's like we cannot escape big data knowing things about us, but we can turn it around to our advantage.
Exactly. And nobody, man, as a small business, nobody likes wasting money on leads that don't work. And I think that's one of the most powerful things is really defining a niche for yourself and owning it and being that hyper-local expert. And then backing into the data where you're talking more often to the people that will most likely want to transact with you. To your point, why are you marketing to a condo that can make no decisions about that? What a waste of money. Every time you do that, you're wasting probably at least 50 cents. Where if you had the right list and the right people, you could really be spending that money somewhere else. So while others are spending money at very general farm lists, you're really getting a lot more specific and being able to talk to them in much more meaningful ways, saving you time and hopefully converting a lot more.
When you mentioned also homeowners, obviously that's one of the big focuses for the data and Property Radar, but we have also health professionals. Now I know that vets, for example, they want to market. There's a whole lot of veterinarians out there, but they need to find out people who own pets, right, to market to them. And actually, I had a situation where I was talking to a new doctor in my neighborhood, and they said that they needed to let people know that they were out there too. But this doctor was somebody for senior citizens, so they weren't going to be going to brand new couples who were going to be looking for an obstetrician. They had to do the very, very specific marketing also to what they wanted to target in that area. And it's amazing that you offer that data too.
Yeah, and it's mixed. Every area is different. Public records can change by county, actually. But it is one of the funny points I point out in my presentation when I speak nationally to different associations, realtor, investor, and mortgage companies. And yeah, one of the bullet points is it's listed under hobbies is pets. So I'm like, imagine how many cat postcards you can send to over 65 that love pets. What are the chances that's going to end up on the refrigerator if it's a really great picture for the next month? And when it's just stickier. So yeah, absolutely, having that kind of interesting data is definitely a plus.
Well, I don't know. Realtors always have sent out different things, and they have a lot of different coaches who teach them, send out a newsletter once a month, make sure that you've got a recipe in there or something about the community. If I got a postcard that had an animal on it, I would be a lot more likely to keep that than I would a recipe that I may never use because I'm using my microwave more than cooking.
Yeah,
using that kind of a thing to target your marketing piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, visuals are a very important part of communications, So variable data, it's not just about your written word, it's about your visuals that you can change up based on your target market. If your specialty in the mortgage space is reverse mortgages, chances are you're probably only talking to people over 55. So the visuals don't need to look like, a new couple with a kid. That might be a little strange. Maybe you want a beautiful, active adult couple enjoying a cruise somewhere. So how can I communicate via the visuals? And having that kind of intel to change is really important.
Well, like you mentioned, too, cash out for college students, cash out for college tuition. If you have college-age students and a visual on the front, you're going to probably catch a lot more eyeballs and get the attention of somebody.
Yeah, and then what if you're able to hold webinars? It's not just about, hey, I can do this. Be like, hey, sign up for a free Zoom meeting on strategy around, saving or paying for college. There's a lot of different opportunities just because COVID came around that we can use in our marketing. While we're thinking about creating content online or whatnot, we could be testing out other strategies like that, and the data will allow us to speak more specifically to audiences.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. You just gave me an idea. I should do that and market to people about 529 plans for college savings. I talk about it a lot, but I haven't really done a webinar for that purpose. I should do that.
Yeah, what if you sent out a postcard, say, hey, in a month, this is what we're doing, and then you created a look-like digital ad, you created it on Facebook, and you promoted it, and you were driving a whole bunch of people to that free webinar. There is something about not having to show up live, but be able to ask questions in a very safe space, and, that could be great for collecting leads.
Yeah, absolutely, especially now. Now, let's just switch gears just for a second and talk a little bit more about real estate specifically, because I know you're a big champion and a fan of ADUs, which are additional dwelling units. You can talk about that a little bit, and 3D printed homes. What are you seeing in other areas besides California? You mentioned you're in Florida, too. Tell us a little bit about your interest in those and how investors maybe can go about looking for property like that, or they can have ADUs. What's changed, I guess, is the biggest question.
Well, in 2017, California started putting it out there as part of the regulation because we are so behind on building housing, more specifically affordable housing. So ADUs can look like a converted garage, a pool house. It could be a detached, one studio apartment. It's just a concept by right here in the state of California that you should be able to build, if you're an owner, an accessory dwelling unit. That doesn't turn it into a duplex. It turns it into a single family plus an ADU. So some people are using it seniors can retire in the back and rent out the front to support their income, or maybe they just need less space because they want to pay for their travel. It could look like co-living. So as a landlord, you could be renting out both separately. So there's a lot of different ways to slice and dice that opportunity, from looking for upzoning opportunities that haven't even made the realm of public record. So say you're on a lot that's zoned R3, so a triplex, but on site is only a single family home. Fantastic. You could actually add 2 more units and then possibly up to 3 ADUs on site. I mean, there's some really crazy opportunity here in California that some people might not know about. So just go online, search accessory dwelling unit. You'll probably find a few interviews that I've done. It's a very unique opportunity here, specific in the state of California, even though there's other states talking about it. I am excited about the conversations around 3D printed homes. I think it's continuing to be a conversation with the builders have been complaining for years, a lack of skilled labor. It's green. Being able to print on-site or even manufactured in a factory housing, modular kind of concept when it comes to building, I think is just going to have its heyday in the next decade. IKEA has entered the space for the tiny home kind of concept. So when you have these major brands entering into the space, I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of it in the next 5 years.
It's amazing and astonishing to me that you can actually print three-dimensionally a piece of wood or board. Equivalent.
Here in California, there's a company called Mighty Buildings. In Austin, there's a company called Icon that I'm a huge fan of. And then in the modular space, if you're looking for ADUs, there's one that manufactures actually out here in the Inland Empire called Plant Prefab. So once you start exploring ADUs, you'll probably naturally, just by the very nature of the conversation, run into modular and possibly the 3D printed space. Icon, for an example, there's the one-bedroom, 600-square-foot 3D printed home that they've been constructing in the Texas area. So I think we'll start seeing more of that.
It's amazing. Now, with the ADUs, don't you have to have permits? I mean, in California, you've heard about people saying, "Oh, I have this space that I've converted to an apartment, but it's unpermitted." And if you're going to be buying it, then you had to either get a permit for it, get it approved, have to maybe tear it all down and then redo it. Has that changed in California?
Yes, a little bit. As long as it's safe, there is supposed to be a pathway at the county level to get it permitted, and you have a little bit of time. And if it's not permitted, chances are a lender isn't going to look at it as far as square footage that it's going to include as part of a loan. I know as a hard money lender, that's what we would do. If there was a lot of unpermitted square footage, we would only count the permitted square footage, knowing that you're going to run into problems when you go to sell.
But you can actually put on an ADU much more simply with a tiny home or something else, like prefab.
Yep. Absolutely.
Not like building permits. That's just amazing to me, too.
Yeah,
and another way to utilize what it is that you have to increase your revenue and your net worth.
And some cities are really gunning for it. They need affordable housing. They need more housing units, and this is a great way to leverage existing infrastructure. So I'll have to send you a video that I created on 3 different ways to identify ADUs in the data that people might not know about.
I would love that. I'd love that. Well, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or do something with Property Radar, how would they do that?
PropertyRadar.com. The 3-day trial is really easy, and you have 3 days, and you can always contact support to have them, talk to them about what you're looking for, and sometimes they can plug you in a little bit faster. Or community.propertyradar.com is the community that I run. So if you have questions about data, strategy, not only will I respond, but there are a lot of very smart people on that community that sometimes get engaged, and it's a great resource.
What is that again? Communities at Property Radar? Is that a Facebook community or what?
No, it's just a private community. So community.propertyradar.com.
Oh, okay. So it's a different website. And anybody can get into that, whether they're a client
anybody
of Property
can
Radar
get in there.
or not?
Yep, whether they're a subscriber or not.
That is so cool. And I highly recommend it to everybody. You need to have some kind of a data source for your business if you're going to grow it, if you're going to use it. Thanks so much for joining me again, Aaron. I look forward to talking to you again in the coming months and then having you back on the show when things change a little bit.
Always great to chat. Thanks, Julie.
You bet. That was Aaron Norris with Property Radar, and I highly recommend that you look at propertyradar.com, or as he said, community.propertyradar.com, and get your questions answered on how you can use data and what it is that they have to offer. So that's going to be it for this week. Grow your business, grow your network, grow your wealth. That's basically what's going to happen, and if you need a little help with that, call me, and I'll help coach you through it at 626-460-1188. That's 626-460-1188. This is Julie Phelan, Julie Talks Money, wishing you a most prosperous week. Bye-bye.
The proceeding was a paid program. Views and claims